Hello, welcome to 15-Minute Consulting Best Practices. My name is Maria Isabel Rios, and I'm joined by David A. Fields. Hello, David.
Good morning, Isabel. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. Happy Monday to everybody. This is a space where we answer your questions about how to create success for you, for your consulting firm, and for your clients through your good work. Hello, John. Hello, Michael. Hello, LinkedIn user. Hello, Christian. Hello, Groth. And part of how we do that is we are actually answering your questions, as much of them live as we can. It takes us a minute to see it, which is why you see the experienced folks who have been here before already chiming in. They know it takes us a minute to see questions and to see comments. We also welcome your comments into the discussion, so please participate. Please add your experiences, your thoughts, and be part of the conversation. And having said that, and thank you, Diane. Oh, Diane is your name. Sorry, it's reversed for me. And hello, Daniel. Right. So if you have a question, Diane, we're happy to take it. Everybody else, we're happy to take your questions. And in the meantime, we're going to start with a question that came in during the week. So, David, I'm going to ask you this question.
Okay. What came in?
What came in? Okay, this question is from Colby. How do I approach a referral that I received from a phone call with a contact? Okay, this will be a totally cold outreach. I do not know the person I was referred to. Would the 111 message work here? Okay, so there's a few components here. Yeah. Kobe was on the phone with a contact, apparently got a referral, and if asking if he should reach out with a 111 message, if that will work.
Okay, so is that it? So do we, because we don't, Jared, can you put that up for just 1 second? Because I didn't know, how do I, from a phone call with a contact. Okay, thanks. Got it. Thank you, Maria Isabel.
And before you dive in, I want to answer Douglas's questions. Hello, Douglas, and hola, Tom.
Only 15 minutes.
This session every week, it's only 15 minutes long. Yes, your Google Calendar is correct.
Google Calendar, right on the money. And hello, folks, for joining. Okay, on a phone call, got a referral to use a 111 outreach. Okay, good question, correct. Colby. The answer is no. So there is a variation of 111 messaging, which is really effective for cold outreach, but you're not in a, you shouldn't be in a cold outreach situation. Right. If you received a referral, the first thing to do is to push for an introduction from your contact. So if I'm on the phone with Maria Isabel says, you should really be talking to Colby. I would say, that would be awesome. I would love to. Would you mind brokering an introduction? So that's the first thing, because you want it to be a warm conversation, not a cold one. And at the very least, if Maria Isabel wasn't willing to introduce me, then I would say, could I at least use your name? Can I reference you in the outreach? Otherwise, you're right, it's just completely cold. So presumably, if you're getting a referral, then you can get the introduction, or at the very least, you send a message that says, our common contact recommended that we connect. So it's actually quite different, because you're not in a cold situation, or you shouldn't be in a cold situation, nor are you in a warm situation where you would use a 111. So that's a great technique, and not where I would apply it. Maria Isabel, would you apply it, or are you where I am on this one?
I am exactly where you are at. And we know there's a modified version of a 111 that works better, because you need that introduction. You need more of an explanation of who you are and why you're reaching out, or what's the context where you last met somebody, if the relationship is cold because a long time has lapsed and right. You had an encounter, say, years back, or very distant, or one point encounter through somebody and neither of you followed through, all of that. There's a little bit of a connection that needs to be built up, and the 111 format does not allow for that. So think of it in terms of establishing more of a rapport before you jump into asking the question that the format of 111 establishes and allows. But yes, eventually you would also use a yes/no question, but with a little bit more of a buildup. Ideally, also, there's a world in which you can say, if the person allows, I was just speaking with David, and David mentioned you, as a person to know, and as a person who has exciting things to say. And I copied David in this email because we were just talking about you. And that's a good way also to get introduced to somebody who's cool.
So Colby, if that didn't answer your question, please let us know.
Right.
Alex, well, we're not going to go do an overview of 111 just because we cover it so many times and in so many ways, but we will give you, do we have a link? Is that what we're able to post?
We can put in a link, and Jaren can help us with that. I think Diane had a question before that.
All right, and I'll ask it because I answered that one. You get to answer whatever Diane's is. Let me see.
All right.
Okay, Diane says, I'm trying to build a small cyber firm. Diane, while I read this, just clarify, do you mean like a cyber consulting on cybersecurity or something like that? Right. Just let us know. Do you have any suggestions for a quick startup? Cyber has much competition. I'm the only person in my company. Okay, so you're going to do a solo, single shingle cyber company. How do you get one started quickly? All right, Maria Isabel, you're on the spot. What's your advice?
So your network is your best source of business to start quickly for you, for any practice, whether you're in cyber or any type of consulting, right? All you need to get started with a firm is your first client. Your source of your first client is your network, warm connections who are decision makers, who know you, who know your work, right? That's where you're going to find your clients faster. An alternative to that is through partners who have warm networks made out of decision makers. And by partners, we don't mean legal entities that you will formally partner with. We mean collaborators, right? Folks who have tribes that you can borrow that are made out of decision makers in your field. So that's the path for a quicker startup. David, where do you land on that?
Yeah, the same. So first of all, quick startup always makes me a little bit nervous because this is a business that takes some time to establish, and hopefully you have a bit of runway. But I agree with you, Maria Isabel. Because it takes time to get speaking gigs, for instance, but speaking is the fastest way to get clients once you get the gig. I would absolutely your warm network, and I would subcontract. I would find some firms. As you said, there's a lot of competition. Great. There's people doing excellent work out there that have business pouring in. Subcontract to get yourself started, in addition to direct.
Well, and part of subcontracting, look into platforms as well.
Oh, yeah.
Who may have clients and may have ongoing projects, given that your expertise seems to be narrow, right? Where you can be really well matched. People look for expertise. So if they have projects where your expertise is really well matched, then throw your hat into the ring.
Okay. All right. Are there other questions that came in, Isabel? I can see they're scanned. I don't know. Is that from Carol that's asking about Pipedrive?
Let's assume it's from Carol.
Okay.
So say, are you still recommending Pipedrive for CRM, or has that changed? And do you know of any firm consultants helping optimize this building process for small consultancies with a new tech that we are all now seeing around us? So interesting question, right?
Okay.
Emerging tech changed the answer in which CRM to go towards. What do you think?
Well, we've always been platform agnostic on the CRM, because it's not the CRM itself, it's how you set it up and use it that makes all the difference. We've still used Pipedrive ourselves. And so, yes, we recommend it because it certainly is as good as anything else, and it's easy to use, and it fits our requirements for a good CRM, one of which being it's action-based. It can be action-based and it's simple to use. So two of the requirements. So Pipedrive is fine, but other CRMs are fine also. It's really not the CRM. It's how you use it.
And there are some that are emerging that have simplicity, which is one of the reasons where Pipedrive also shines, right? It's not built, and also have a lot of flexibility in connecting with new tools, but anyone could work.
Yeah. In terms of visibility building, let's separate that into strategy and sort of tactically working. Strategy, yeah, there's a firm that helps you optimize the visibility building process. That's ours. This is what we do. And we have invested very heavily in AI, for instance, and in understanding how that works on the visibility building front. That tactically, are there specific firms that we think have like got this sorted out? No, I don't know where. I know, Rizabel, unless you're aware of some, I don't know of any that we've said, yeah, this is the firm everyone should go to.
No, we know firms who are working on their own integrations with different, based on HubSpot or based on Pipedrive, but nobody has an out of the box plug and play yet that we have seen.
Yeah, GEO or whatever you want to call it aside, which has really not been sorted out well. The fundamentals of winning business actually have not changed in consulting. And the fundamentals of visibility building haven't changed. Just like SEO was a small part, if that, of the equation before, it's still a small part of how you become visible, become known, and therefore multiply your opportunities.
Right.
All right. What else has come in? I'll read what Muli said here, which and whatever it is, you have to address it. An interesting scenario for me today. A client asked for budgeting reasons to purchase my services as a license to use my framework for a year and have the support implicitly included. Should I?
Ooh. So for budgeting reasons doesn't probe very well to how we're going to respond, which means they want to pay less than what they're paying right now. That's my assumption as I read your question.
Well, it could be, Muli, you should clarify. It could be some companies have said we're putting a cap on consulting, but we're not putting a cap on licenses. So maybe it's a little bit of a dodge, internally.
So in general, is this a path that you could consider or you should consider? Probably. Yes. I mean, there's no reason why not, provided that you think about a couple of boundaries, right? One is, what are the limitations of usage if you were to grant a license? What's the process for renewing? How are you going to ensure that the boundaries of your license are going to be respected within your client? And how are they going to kind of certify, promise, make true on that commitment? And what happens at the end of the licensing period? What's your tail? And we want to encourage you to think longer term than you think your client would need, because a common mistake people make with licensing products is that we tend to think very short term, where they end up having a longer shelf life than one would assume. So as you think of scenarios, price alternatives or device alternatives that are priced, okay, if you want it short term, there's a perhaps higher price alternative, there's a longer tail. What will that imply with different levels of support, where you can calibrate depending on what your client actually needs? And don't discount it. Just because you're giving a license or a number of licenses, do not discount it. So think about metrics, how you're going to track it, what are the boundaries, and what are fees that would make it worthwhile to you to actually license. David, where do you land? And I know we're almost at time.
Yeah, we're just at time.
And
so there's some questions we'll do next week. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's interesting because there are different types of consulting. So are you doing a project? Are you doing something that could lend itself to a license? I'll assume the latter, yeah. Where you are, Marie-Isabel, I would absolutely consider it. It's just a contract structure.
Right.
And then you just think, okay, for that license, who gets access? To what do they get access? For how long do they get access? How do they get access? To your framework and all of that. And that will determine how you ultimately how you write your contract and how you write up the license. But yeah, I would consider it. And then Len, and maybe it's Carol or a different LinkedIn user with the 10 warm leads. I didn't read the whole thing. We will absolutely do your 2 questions first next time. And Len, you've got multiple questions. We'll answer those next time because we hit our time. And I want to thank you for spending 15 minutes with us. I have an important announcement, which you'll also see it via email. Bob Berg, who's co-author of The Go Giver and a whole series of books, but just The Go Giver itself sold well over 1 million copies, is joining us in 2 weeks. So please make sure you've got davidafields.com Monday Live. Jaron, you can put Monday Live. There we go. On your calendar for every week, but for 2 weeks from now, and send us your questions for Bob in advance, so that we'll have them lined up. And so most of you already know, put that there. Please connect to Marie-Isabelle and to me on LinkedIn if you don't happen to be connected to us. We really do want to connect to you. Thank you, Jaron, for putting that up there. And if you don't get our articles every week, I don't know why, you should subscribe. And thank you, Jaron, for putting that up there. And that was it. Great questions today. We look forward to seeing you next week. Really appreciate you joining us and hope you have an amazing week. Remember, as we always say, consulting is not about you. Consulting is about them. It's about your clients. It's about your prospects. So give them value and give them kindness. And we will see you next week. Take care, all.